sometimes you just have to let be and like things to take their own course. So it is a time taking process, but I think if there is that agency given to people, then it starts happening on its own.
So what I'm hearing from you and some of the realization is that community network or alternative network is not an alternative to just connectivity, like the way connectivity reach to the people as a consumer product. You know, we go and buy the connectivity, you know, it's not an alternative to that. It is actually an approach. It is actually an adaptation methodological approach. And how do you use, for example, your village road, or for example, your village chowpal or a community space and things like that. So, you know, when community network goes to a community or gets adapted into a community, it is just not considered only a path to get connected, but it is a path to get, connectivity from the perspective of your caste, culture, religion, ecosystem, habits and language and, heritage and everything else. And that's very, very important. And I'm talking to myself and loudly thinking is that how do you convert that entire thing into a policy mechanism that when you go to a remote area where there is no connectivity, how do you take community network? Because this community network is like an architecture of, a hanger which has got all kind of dresses hanging into it, saying that, okay, it keeps the culture in place, it keeps the language in place, it keeps the food in place, it keeps the, diversity in place, and yet get connected, and don't get overwhelmed by the external connectivity or external culture, or also decide how much to connect and how much not to connect, and so on and so forth. So I want to ask this question to Kathleen, since you, of course, get across to many of such things, and of course nobody more than APC would be getting this question of a scale up and policy and so on and so forth and things like that. Do you really see that community networks should get into that mode of consumer-oriented alternative to connectivity as a policy? Or do you see that we need to really refine and define community networks as the connectivity which is actually camouflaged with multi-diversity, angle of getting the community connected without being a consumer?
Thanks, Osama. That's a lot to unpack in one question. But I must say that in the last 5 years, that because what I've seen in regards to the partnerships that we've had and the collective efforts of various communities in the Global South, that there really is a leaning towards looking at the diversity of community networks in all shapes and forms. I mean, I think it can, you might find one where it leans more on the social entrepreneurship angle and model that may lean more on a champion that wants to pursue that kind of more consumer oriented aspect that you mentioned. But then you have others that really do want to lean more on the diversity of communities and the as Shefali was describing, really understanding the deep needs of the community members and getting to know that first before moving into the connectivity role, or doing that in parallel. So very difficult one to answer at this point, but I would say that as a middle ground, there is that spectrum that we need to consider, and not necessarily there be a cookie cutter approach that will help to address the digital divide across the Global South. Hope that kind of answers your question, Osama.
I am always thinking that, I really feel that community networks should be the way to adapt connectivity in communities. I really feel in one line that's how it is. But I'm also wondering that how do we take community network to various communities at a scale on their own? Is there what you call as a do you have a kit bag which can actually, and when I unpack, it says that, okay, this is connectivity, but this is not technology. This is a modem, but this is not a piece of technology. This is wire, but this is not a technology. These are the small little lights, green and red and all that, but this is not actually a technology. Because I still feel that there is a sense of apprehension among the community, even though they are interested in treating connectivity as a piece of technology that first come to their face. And there is always an apprehension of adaptability or introduction when anything is seen as a technology and not a way of life, or not a cultural thing, or not a, or not a, let's say, piece of decoration on your wall that you can easily see, okay, you like it and you buy it, or you take it, or you make it and you hang it, and there is a linguistic challenges to that, there is a cultural challenges to that, and so on and so forth. Like even in this Janastu thing, when Sanket was saying that there is still a barrier of technological or engineering aspect to it, which actually becomes a barrier to take the community network very slowly to the community, and it doesn't go immediately. I don't have an answer, but I am just wondering, and most of these places where we are going in remote areas to experiment, we are seeing education or access to education and knowledge and information is the first thing that lures people to get into community networks. When we will go to Bikram's place, we will hear the similar kind of thing. The education and the children and the youngsters are the first linking thing, that everybody wants to adapt it. And if that is so, why can't we have all the schools having a community, a space to build a community network for themselves in their lab, or in their why do we call it a computer lab? Why don't we call it a tinkering lab, or a Wi-Fi lab or internet lab? I don't know. I mean, I don't have an answer. I'm just blabbering from the perspective of joining the club of Anju, saying that what can we do to make it fast. Isha, do you have any answer to that?
Yeah, I was just also going to raise my hand. There are a few things. While I understand the challenges, I mean, and I for one do not advocate having a cookie cutter approach, but I do feel when we talk about scaling up, not having any sort of consistency may prove to be a challenge. I think then we have to very consciously look at how can we engage with the policymakers and sort of come at have a predictable mechanism in place. And by that, I don't mean that we need to rob communities of their agency at all. I do feel it is very, very imperative to sort of let the community decide how they want to take this forward. But at the same time, acknowledge the scaling up issues that arise by virtue of that, and then decide how we want to address this problem. I think I'm also just trying to I'm just trying to lay out the problem as I see it when we try to talk to policymakers about community networks and how this can be done better. Secondly, and especially after the COVID pandemic, and also before that, we do realize that, access to internet has really become imperative to lead a meaningful life. There is no really other way that even with the Supreme Court sort of understanding that right to internet access is a fundamental right. So when these and the government or the digital infrastructure not reaching each one of these remote areas in the country is at some level, I feel, denying them their access to a meaningful life. So what do we do then there? How do we bridge this digital divide? Because I do feel we are beyond that point to question and debate whether we need to do it or not. We do need to do it. I mean, there is a barrier to access. So in amidst that, do we feel that CN's community networks could potentially be a solution till such time that government is able to facilitate a meaningful infrastructure? Can the community and the state work in tandem and come at a solution? So I think that it definitely becomes a big issue to scaling up. And that's something I think I keep asking also people who work in the space, is that how do we scale this up? As Usama says, there are umpteen and great efforts that are taking place, but fact of the matter is that DOT and the government of India is still unaware half the time. You are telling them that this is happening, or during the COVID pandemic, it was actually these communities that ensured that students were getting right to education. I mean, your access to health was also at some point impacted. So then how do we address that? And again, as I said, I do not at any point advocate robbing the communities of their agency to decide for themselves. Having said that, how do we scale this up? Because a consistent, predictable sort of a framework is imperative to scale it up. Otherwise, the cacophony just sort of kicks in. If I made any sense.
Yes, of course. I mean, you excited me to say something that I wanted to, and I will. But I think, Shefali, you had a few words to say, right? You raised your hand.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, what I was responding to actually what Kathleen said, and which was, there is one aspect of community network, which is connectivity. But there is this another aspect of community network where you can kind of make your local sort of applications, or make that peer network going on. And like, if you look at it in that terms, like if people are able to see it as something that they can, solve for their own communication problems, or solve for their own kind of things. But there is obviously one aspect of digital divide and connectivity, but there is this also aspect of like, if people want to go in a certain direction and they are able to do it by themselves. So then if we look at community networks, and then if we make a case for it, I think scaling up there kind of makes more sense, because then it becomes something as people are having their own networks, or they're fostering their own networks and then looking at it. So internet at one point becomes like this, like what I'm also thinking about, like, is actually openly thinking about, like, going on in my head also, is like internet can be a connection to a community, but then that community can have its own network in a certain sense. And that could kind of have more local content, more entrepreneurial opportunities, more applications going on, everything. So that kind of becomes something where you can think of like scaling up, but in a very different sense, rather than like scaling up. Okay, we need to have a perfect model, and that gets scaled up everywhere. So
no, actually, both Isha and Shefali, you excited me to do something to make it, I am finding answer to my own anxiety of what you are saying. And you are certainly saying that even though you have the connectivity available, digital divide taken care of, yet there is a whole paraphernalia around community network as an ecosystem which allows you or which makes you to think of creating your own network, creating your own communication system, creating your own tinkering approach, creating your own, experimenting your own desire to create something of your own, maybe your classroom Wi-Fi, maybe your house Wi-Fi, maybe your, peer group. It's like creating various groups on WhatsApp. Similarly, in community network also, you can have an education network, you can have a lab network, you have something, domestic food network or something like that, whatever. So I am actually getting excited that why don't we create CNX in a box, which actually when you open up, you have this 5-6 Raspberry Pi and few things, and then you can build your own network and you can experiment, and you have your own maker space where you can have it, and that may excite to make it happen more from the perspective of adaptability rather than from the perspective of making digital divide and the product around it as a consumer good. Kathleen, were you trying to say something?
No, I'm just taking notes and
Okay,
loving this conversation. It's really enlightening. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I would say that we are heading towards last about 45 minutes or even less time to get into the second case to watch and walk the talk. And now let me take all of you to Nepal, to the border of China, and see what's happening there. Let's walk there aerially and on the ground. So can we have the second interaction? Yeah. I can't hear anything. Is it me or everybody else?
Even I can't hear.
Yeah, we can't hear.
नमस्ते, मेरो नाम शिला बहादुर तामाङ हो। म
Great.
उत्तरगाई गाउँपालिका खाल्टे रसोमा बस्छौँ। हामीलाई चाहिँ यहाँ नेटको साह्रै समस्या थियो, तर सरहरू आएर हामीलाई नेटहरू जडान गरिदिएको छ। अनलाइन क्लासहरू हुँदाखेरि हामीलाई पहिला प्रशस्त थिएन नेटवर्कहरू, तर अहिले चाहिँ हुँदै आएको छ।
We just reached Uttargaya. The place name is Khalte, and this place is around from Kathmandu 115-16 kilometers away, and we are at Uttargaya now, and we just 1.5 hours before we reached here. So this is Uttargaya, and we can see this board here. We are here, and this is VDC municipality. Rural municipality is nearby the river band is Tusuli. This is Tusuli river. So we had installed community network. Now we are in community center, sir. This is community center, and I think Vikas is on the way to the main village.
Now I'll explain. This is the first pole where our router is set up. This is the entrance of the village. We can see that.
Can you name the village once again?
The name of the village is Khalte.
Khalte.
Khalte, yeah. Tamang society. I think most of them are Tamang. Yes.
What is the population of the village?
The total population of the village is, I think, more than 600 people. More than 600 people are here. This is the second router we have installed in this pole, in the middle of the village.
What is the range each router covers? How many people get connected with each router?
I think more than 50-60 people are connected here from this router.
And what kind of work they do through connectivity?
Sir, they most of the students they use for for the study purpose. And some of the last time we had given one training for internet for women empowerment. So they had some homemade product, I mean handicraft. So they have been promoting that from internet also, sir.
Achha, okay. So what is the altitude of this place in comparison to Kathmandu or in general?
Compared to Kathmandu, is lower. But
oh, it's lower. Achha, okay.
Lower compared to Kathmandu. But this is on the way to the China border.
Okay. And what is the occupation of the villagers here? Mostly farming or anything else?
Yeah, mostly farming, and most of their man they used to go urban area
For construction work.
From urban area, so they for the construction work, and they also use this internet to connect with their family.
Which is the telecom internet provider for this community networks? I mean the backhaul connectivity.
Boardlink.
Boardlink.
Yeah, Boardlink Communications. दिदी नमस्ते यो लाइभै भइरहेछ नेट चलिरहेछ दिदी
नेट चलिरहेछ
राम्रै चल्छ बच्चाहरूले के एजुकेसनको लागि चलाउनुहुन्छ नि हजुरको नाम भनिदिनुस् न एकचोटि सजिना तामाङ राम्रोसँग नेटहरु चलिरहेछ है कुनै पनि त्यस्तो डिस्टर्बेन्सहरु त आउँदैन अहिलेसम्म हो अनि बच्चाहरूले त्यो कम्प्युटरहरु पनि राखेको छ त्यो चलाउन जानु भएको छ अहिलेसम्म
आज त पाउँछु गाखा
ए गएको छ हजुर यस्तो फ्री भएको टाइममा पठाइदिनुस् न है हजुर दिस इज द थर्ड पोल एन्ड दे आर सेइङ द कनेक्टिभिटी इज गुड our child is studying in internet online class. They are taking online classes, and now I will show you the fourth pole where we have installed the router.
So all the first, second, third, fourth pole is around 200-300 meters.
Around 400 meters distance.
400 meters. Okay.
Sir, I have with me Sila Bahadur.
Oh, very good.
You can ask questions to Sila Bahadur. He is very interested to study in computer science.
Namaste, Sila Bahadur.
Namaste.
How do you use internet?
पढ्नको लागि युजको कहिलेकाहीँ यसको मोड सेट गर्नको लागि कम्प्युटरहरू चलाउँछौँ धेरै त्यसको पढाइकै लागि मैले नेट चलाउँछु
So he's saying most of the time he used for the study purpose.
This is a fourth router and she is thanking all of us for doing a good thing, providing the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, and she is talking with her loved ones in video calling. She told that it helps their children in education, online education.
You said here only you provide internet, so people have mobile phone. What are they use mobile phone for if there is no internet?
As for them, sir, before we came here, they use this NTC and NCL 3G.
Acha, okay. So in this area 3G also works.
But but it's very difficult. Sometimes it's no 2G or it is very costly, and they are not able to afford for the 3G internet broadband.
Okay, and who looks after the network? Have you trained any local person to look after the network or its management or technical problems?
We have been providing support from Kathmandu for this project. They are the backbone. I mean, they are the technical, and we had contract with them for if there is any issues, any malfunction, then they have to provide this technical support, and the monitoring also done by that company.
What is the distance from Kathmandu?
It's 110 kilometers. 110 kilometers.
And is this population an indigenous community? Which community is this?
Among, I think.
This is most of the Tamangs are there, and they are displaced after earthquake 2015, and now they are. I think they have permanently settled here, but it's with temporary settlement. I mean settled.
Okay, they have no land rights there.
I think they don't have land. This is a government land.
Okay.
So Bikram, thank you very much. We are saying goodbye. We are certainly not saying goodbye to Vikram. Vikram is here. Thank you very much. What should I say? Should I ask Anju? What do you say?
I have a lot to say, but brilliant work from Bikram and the team. A lot of the work that he's doing in this community, it resonates with the work that we were doing when, in my previous life, I have to say, I was involved in this telecenter work in some parts of the Pacific. And one of the challenges was dealing with disasters. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the situation in Samoa when they had the tsunami, it wiped out the telecenter, and it killed so many people. So it's just the displacement that you talked about, Bikram, and also the team talked about and the land issues is very common also in the Pacific. And this is something that we are constantly worried about. When it comes to community networks, but not only that, even, just setting up anything, public Wi-Fi or etc. And the other thing is the sustainability issues, because when this happened, I think people were just reluctant to start that whole telecenter again. And that was one of the issues, but I'm happy to see that there are so many smiling faces here. Osama, you've been asking the right questions. I wanted to, every time you asked a question, I also wanted to ask, but what was the situation here, and how did this happen, and how many kilometers, or what did you do here? So I think you did a great job in terms of asking the right questions. I think from my perspective, and again, I would like to say is that I'm not a community network expert, but I appreciate the work done by you, many of you, and the community network experts in various communities to deliver access and connectivity to underserved areas. And even though A4AI continues to support and we continue to advocate on community networks, we do it through policy, and a lot of our work is not going to the ground. And this is this connection that we have. So from a policy perspective, I think, how do you change that mindset at the policy level? Because they're always about paper, right? And they're always about writing. And so sometimes they don't really understand what's happening at the ground, at the grassroots level. So what is it that we can do, and how is it that we can bring key people, like key stakeholders, like the telecommunication sector, ISP, MNOs, NTT, and even, ICT sector, but also, different sectors like education, agriculture, health, because they all have to participate in this community network. So those are the challenges that I see. And so I just wanted to, one of the things that I think I continue again to ask myself is that how do we get them, policymakers in particular, to put this into practice? And so we can talk about that a bit more, but this is my initial reaction. Thank you.
Thanks. One of the things that I was thinking that in the sense that when we keep talking about policy, scale and all that, I was thinking is that connectivity should not, or a last mile connectivity should not be only part of the telecom responsibility. I think it should become part of the Ministry of Education or Education Department or a health department or whatever. And therefore their requirement will decide what kind of connectivity need and how do we need connectivity and how it should embed. And the second thing is also that how we can also make it a part of education system, or systemic education, to have connectivity as a part, like the way people are thinking how to have misinformation and fake news as a part of the curriculum, because it is a menace now and you don't know how to handle it. And we don't realize that they also come through connectivity. So that's what one of the answers that I have it, but I will go to Kathleen to ask her reaction and feedback about what she saw, and also comments.
Well, first, I do want to thank Bikram and the Nepali team and this village of Kalte. That the efforts are really tremendous, and the video really reflected that. And I think what I took away from it was, we really do need to pay attention to the efforts of disaster-prone areas, and with multiple crises that many areas are experiencing at this moment, post-COVID, climate change, high inflation, global inflation, there really is a need to start to understand the lessons that we're picking up here in Kalti, so that others can learn and prepare themselves for what might be outcomes of natural disasters and futures to come. So what I also really appreciated was, the sharing a bit of the ways in which handicraft, in where, it was an earthquake prone, area and resettlement, and that there was efforts. It resonated with me because that was also in the previous CNX with ASERCOM in connecting handicraft and trying to just reestablish some livelihood and efforts on what communities are able to do in such difficult situations. I think what also comes to mind is, we're very thankful for the Nepal, Internet Foundation and bringing connectivity, but also beyond that is, where are the other partnerships? I think of groups like the UN Human Commissions for Refugees, UNHCR, that we've in the past tried to make efforts to connect with partners such as this international organizations, and I'm sure there are also regional bodies, but I don't know how to unlock those possibilities in the efforts that we've tried to work with them in the past. We've written papers, but as Andrew said, we want to do more. And how can we unlock those relationships and partnerships so that we can continue to support efforts on the ground? I also enjoy this format. I just wanted to say kind of broadly, in the first series and now this series, that this kind of live interview, live video is a very successful way to share what is happening on the ground. So thanks for continuing this effort and this style of commentary.
Yeah, thank you very much. We are on the verge of replacing television. Since they have gone rogue. Isha, what do you say, and how do you differentiate between these two networks also, and what are the learnings that you see?
I think to your remark on television, I was about to say about time somebody did that, and maybe a decade down, we'd be talking about time someone replaced these platforms if we haven't already. But coming to the misinformation bit, no, but great work, Bikram, at the outset. And what Anju was also saying, I think in India, we hear this a lot from policymakers. We want to be doing evidence-based policy making. And while I was looking at Janastu's video and then now Bikram's, so the first thing that came to my mind was, what more of an evidence do you need? This is as much of an evidence as you can of tangible change that you can see. And I really feel there is this huge gap in this evidence being disseminated. And I do think my key learning is about better dissemination of also the efforts that are currently underway. We need to find a better way to sort of do that. In terms of the point that you raised, Osama, about the difference you see, I think in the first one, the point, I mean, what really hit home was about access related issues. But the other thing also, what we sort of don't always realize about connectivity, and in which I always like to emphasize upon, is that access is step one, then there is adoption, usage, and then you take it up to however you want to take it up. And in this second video particularly, I think, you could see people using it for, say, their recreational purposes also, connecting with family. This is something which is so basic for us. We don't think twice about hopping on flights, going on to different continents, and never for once thinking whether we'd be in touch with our loved ones, or whether they'd be worried about our safety or not. And these are something that are so basic that each one of us, at least I am guilty of it, for taking for granted, as much as I'd like to think otherwise. And I think the great sort of unified theme across all of this is how it can really, really bring a difference in terms of, I think education is our only way out of all of this. I mean, all of these things, separate entities, have to come together to ensure that we're able to pass on a more meaningful life to the next generation. I think the work that we do today, we'll see an impact of it in the next decade. I mean, that's what I always say to myself, that any sort of tangible impact of the work that I'm doing now is not going to happen next year. And it should create a better world for the generation that is growing up. They should be more aware about things such as this. They should be more aware about climate change, about displacement, land rights. And I think that one thing that we need to completely emphasize upon is how all of these efforts are actually enabling and facilitating some of those issues that we've always harped about. So I think that is very important. And lastly, this multi-sectoral thing, I'm so glad someone brought it up, because that is something that I feel is not talked about enough, is this harmonious policy making. Like, personally in India, I think we struggle a lot with these regulators and these government agencies not talking to one another. If they were in the same room talking and discussing these issues out, I think there would be less regulatory turf wars. India definitely is a victim of that. I'm going to come out there and say it. And secondly, if each one tells them the issues and says, the education ministry was struggling so much during the COVID pandemic, people didn't have devices, kids didn't have access, even in urban households, having devices was an issue, right? So if only they were speaking to one another, I think by now we would have seen more of a change than we do. I mean, and that I do feel sad and guilty about. So that's what I would take away. But again, great effort. Vikram, would love to visit the community if I get a chance to travel there. But really, kudos, keep up.
We will come to Bikram to bombard with lots of questions very soon, and to Shefali also before we end. But Gayani, what do you say? I mean, do you know any community network in Sri Lanka?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I think I've heard of some community kind of radio that we definitely had telecenters, but I don't know of any on the ground, but I could be wrong. And I just could not be fully synced in. So I don't know if anyone else actually knows, feel free to let us know, but not that I know of. Certainly when I went in, when going and talking to the regulator, and talking to the regulator in charge of the specific person in charge of economics and competition, who we generally deal with,
He hadn't even heard of community networks. He was like, oh, what is this? Telecom law doesn't allow for these sort of things, but he was intrigued. So I think there is room to kind of grow in that policy engagement space and create a space for it. So from like the demand side, not that I know that they exist, but certainly I know that the regulators and all aren't even kind of aware of the potential, which then really speaks to the need to kind of get everybody on board in terms of different types of stakeholders, trying to show the need by showing all these other different applications and then kind of getting those things on board. And just to react to the video, Bikram, really like wonderful job. And I think specifically the effort that you're making to create some normalcy in the lives of these people impacted by earthquakes and whatnot is really, really commendable. So just wonderful there. I do have a question because I am a researcher, and I hope this isn't too much of a digression, but are there any mobile or internet-based disaster warning systems that are common in Nepal and, you know, other Asian countries? Like in Sri Lanka, I know we have this thing called June, which is essentially it uses cell broadcasting. Couple of questions that I was wondering. One, is it common in Nepal and other kind of countries where earthquakes are quite prone? And if yes, are community networks also a part of the, like, are they also part of this network where people who are on community networks can receive these emergency warnings? Was just curious to find out.
I think during earthquake, after earthquake, we saw lots of, NGO, INGO, even UN, they had, brought in Nepal, and they put all the equipments are in the airport area, in the side of the airport during that time. And we are also in connect with them, and we have been providing them support, for the technical as well as operational aspects during that COVID time. And for your information, the major issue was during that COVID was power issue, the electricity, and the electricity is very crucial. So during that time, we don't have much financial support, and we just came up with some sort of, internationally, my friends, they just saying us that whatever support you need, we will happy to provide you. So that's kind of support we have been, getting from the international level. So during that time, and myself and Bavram was that, we was in Internet Society, and we have been, actively involving in community and society. So, and we found that, the major issue was in power. So even the big company NTC and NCL and some of the community radio also, they are, not able to run their business or come up with this because issue was electricity, and the electricity was, if there is no electricity, then there is no connectivity and no the phone rings. And then we suddenly come up with, let's have then portable this generator. So the 10 kVA generator, we because I'm working in bank, and I do have a good connection with the vendors, and one of the vendors I had requested, if you have generator, then please can you provide us? Then frankly saying that we don't have financial in our hand. And then just I talked with the one of the big company in Nepal that's called Omni Group, and I had talked with the Tulhari, his name is Tulhari, and I had requested him to provide 10 generator, 10 kbps generator for us to run this. And we have donated that generator to the NTC, Nepal Telecom, to get up the power, and then we they can just take that generator and run the generator, and then the battery will charge it, and then the BT will up. That kind of support we provided. And during that time also, we 150 plus solar system with small battery, and the people can just charge their mobile. So that kind of service we have, provided to our community, and even Nepal police had support us to, reach that small kind of that solar system and power backup, and we have sent that to the remote places with the help of Nepal army. So they took that some battery and solar system, and then they delivered to the remote areas, and then the people can just charge their mobile, and then they can talk with their family and friends. So that's how we have been working in the community. But as you said, that in the community network and system, whatever the government have, we are not linked with that system still, because I don't know, we are working in the ground, but we don't have that, even now also I have an ideas who have been working on that area, but we just work in the ground. That's it. But I also want to add on to Kathleen. So we are happy to partner with any organization, any individual person in Nepal, because my passion is to provide internet to everyone. So as we know that in remote areas, in rural areas, in hilly, in mountains, still we have been working. So I think we will have next year some different kind of community network. We have been already we have just half way we have it is there, but in coming year probably we will have some sort of different kind of community network, and we are going to establish community network, community radio, and podcast kind of system. So that will be under construction. It's going on in progress. So I am not going to tell much more. Let's wait for next year.
So I wanted to just add to a question of Gyani that there are a lot of cases related to connectivity and communication in terms of community radio and radio, right from ham to many more, including Wi-Fi based radio. But haven't heard many in terms of pure internet in a disaster zone, let's say, access to internet in a disaster zone, except one that I remember that UNHCR had created satellite-based moving vehicle connectivity based in somewhere in Indonesia. I think it was in post-tsunami or some kind of situation. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember that there was this case. In India, I have found out that how can we have a moving vehicle with satellite connectivity and internet so that it goes from one location to the other. But according to the law, you cannot have connectivity in a moving situation. So to fight that, I was talking to Hughes, who provides satellite, who say that we offer satellite in a box. So you open a box, you open the satellite, put it on your vehicle or the roof of your vehicle. You keep on moving without connectivity, but whenever you want to have connectivity, just stop it so that the geolocation can be mapped. Because without geolocation, they think it's a security issue. But obviously laws need to change, and when the disaster happens, you cannot have disaster somewhere else, and you cannot move, and you can only move and then have the location fixed. But I feel that it is still a solution, because even if you are moving 100 meter, 100 meter and 200 meter, you can keep on moving and stop and have the connectivity and use it. Apparently it's very costly, but that is available. The second thing, I mean, what I wanted to ask Bikram is that, what effort have you made that the connectivity that is made available, the community network that is available in Khalte, is that if you take your hands off, will it still continue to run? And I'm not asking this as a difficult question, but I'm asking both as an apprehensive question, because look at them. I mean, they don't want to not have internet. I mean, I feel feared that if the support is not there, how will they run the connectivity? So what mechanism are you putting in place? Even if not now, are you planning anything?
Thank you, Osama. So I think it's very challenging and it's very difficult questions, and it's very difficult me to answer, because I still saying that the sustainability is very challenging for us to run this community network in long run. So that's the main challenging we have been facing. But also I used to say them the community. So we have. First of all, the Khalte, there was no connectivity, and I do have a good connection with the ISPs and NSPs in Nepal, and one of ISP Brolink. They are very near to the Khalte, and that's the place is called Tirsuli. I mean, and then it's almost 10 to 12 kilometers to reach the connectivity, and we try to have the wireless first, but after we want to have stable connectivity and resilience connectivity for the community. So we had request them to just pull the cable to fiber cable to there. Then they are a profit making company, so they are not able to provide that fiber connectivity. Then again we came up with we discussed with another ISPs. Then they also they are not able to provide. Then eventually I had one good friend, and we used to go to the APISF event, and he was the CTO for that company, and I had talked with him, and then he only just convinced, and then we just paid some sort of the fiber the cost, and then we'll pull that fiber to the Khalte, and they provide that this connectivity. So in this case we got good connectivity because of the ISP. They are able to provide that internet to that place. But even in other remote places, there's lots of remote places in Nepal, still they are unconnected. So that's how we have different options. I know I'm from the technical background as well, so I do have a VSAT. There is KU VSAT, there is KA VSAT, there is C-band VSAT, but the VSAT connectivity is compared to fiber and wireless is the latency issues. So that's why we didn't want to have that kind of. But if there is no options, then definitely we'll go for the VSAT. But this Khalte, we are able to connect with the fiber. Then we connected with the fiber connectivity, and then we have a wireless Wi-Fi over there. And then now still I had made their committee that the VDC chair was the chair for this Uttar Gaya community network. The person who elected from the this publicly their VDC chair, and the chair was that chairperson was the chair of our community network. And then there is 4 more persons who is working in that VDC also. And then from the community we have asked them to contribute for this community. And then we just have one committee over there, and then that committee, and we had organized one event, and then during that event we have just hand over to that all community network equipments and operation related to them, and then we came back. And we used to say that don't this is your this is only for you, only for the community, for the community, by the community. So that's for the purpose. We are not able to come again and again to support this, but the community has to be run by yourself. That kind of we just ask them to help, and then we have hand over. But I don't know, after 1 year we have provided for bandwidth for 1 year, after 1 year, if the community will run themselves, then it's very excellent and good. But if not, then again we have to have some sort of support from a community or some sort of we have to raise. That's how we have been working with the community.
So we will certainly like to help in that area of what kind of methodology you can have to have the community full ownership in terms of financial, in terms of management, in terms of all those things, and that may require a lot of time. And we are almost on the finish of time. I would like to ask everyone to show their face, and before we end, I would also like one sentence for each one of you to say. And after that, we'll formally finish. But I have a task too, because we have got few questions from local communities saying that why are you guys only talking in English? So I have to brief everything, taking 5-7 minutes I will take after finishing it formally to explain everyone who is watching from the community. We have this, that our broadcast also happens in the community networks, the local community. So they're watching groups. So they are asking that, can you also explain in Hindi? And Jenny must be very angry with me that I didn't summarize everything in Hindi in each session, which we did last time. But she's not saying anything now. I am going to get that flag later. So one sentence from each. I'll start on my screen from clockwise. Isha and Kathleen and Shafali and Gayani and Anju and then Bikram. Isha first.
Yeah, I'll keep it short. One sentence he says. So it'll have to be thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. It was lovely meeting all of you, and I hope we can continue to engage even after this. I think that is very important, to have these communication lines going, talking, learning best practices, and emulating them in different geographies. Thank you, Osama. Thank you, DEF, for this opportunity, and all of you for the wonderful work that you're doing.
Thank you. And we are not going to leave you. We are going to harass you again and again. Kathleen.
Kudos to the DEF team, Osama, and all the panelists for another successful event. Again, it's I mentioned it in the first half that the efforts are relentless, and the local networks initiative and APC will continue to support ground up efforts in whatever way possible to make the linkages and accompaniment that's necessary with community members. And again, thank you for bringing this forum together to have the conversation so that others can be aware and continue to amplify the voice. So thank you.
Thanks, Kathleen. And you may have read some of the emails where people are saying that we should extend CNX to African region or include cases from that area. So I think I'm going to bother you to get some names from that side. Shafali.
It was really good, looking at other people, Vikram's network issues, and also thinking about your thoughts, because you guys come from very different perspective looking at community networks, and we have a different perspective. So it was nice to just come together and see what other people are thinking about in the space. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Anju.
How do I start? Thank you for making me cry. No, it was very heartwarming to see the videos, but I know all the work that's happening behind. I don't know all the work that's happening behind, but I can imagine what you are all doing to make this, effortless, and also, to make this a successful community network. I do want to thank the experts here. I honestly enjoyed today's session. Again, like I said, I'm not a community expert, but I really learned from you. And also, it's important for me to understand how I can apply it to policies, but also bringing in this whole multi-stakeholder process that we keep talking about. How do we really make that effort at that policy level? It's always difficult, but I'm sure we'll get there. And I also want to thank Osama and the team. Honestly, you have been doing this for the past how many years? I still remember watching one of your TED Talk show, and you're still one of my favorite champions. And I think, it makes a huge difference when you have leaders who can lead this at the community level. And what Kathleen said, it has to be that bottom-up approach where we don't necessarily see. But so thank you so much. And A4AI, the Web Foundation, will continue to support, and we hope we can be there on site so that I can also experience even the food if possible, and also listen to some of the real stories, even from the kids. I want to do that. I continue to have, community engagement in various places, and what I do is whenever I go to a country, I always want to go beyond. So we also talk to women who are doing online entrepreneurship, community youth leaders, who go right to the community. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing, and please keep me involved. I will definitely join the next session because I'm really, really excited. Thank you again.
And don't go away. We have to take a photo. Just wait. Pranita is sitting in the middle of my screen.
Yes,
and say
Rahul,
thanks to her for bringing all of us, and she's going to click, and before that you can't go, and we still have to hear Gayani and then Vikram.
And I just want to say, Rahul ji, hamari Hindi bahut achhi nahi hai, but I hope you can forgive me. Thank you.
Yes, Gani, your sentence.
Right, so I will keep it quick. Thank you everyone for bringing us together, the enlightening videos, which was just wonderful, and the conversations. Really, really enjoyed it, and hope we can keep working together.
Great, Vikram.
Yeah, thank you very much, Osama and Foundation team. It's great to meet you all. It's my wonderful opportunity to present whatever we did in past. Still long way to go. There is lots of places in Nepal we have to do, but last mile connection is very challenging, and most of the important thing is sustainability is a challenge for us in Nepal. So that's how can we make that sustainable. That is the challenging. I think we have did lots of other this community network, but still that is someone is running, but some of the is still struggling. So thank you very much, everyone, and hope to meet you all in person. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and let's all thank Pranita and Jenny for making it happen for all of us effortlessly and so smoothly. Today, even the Murphy's Law didn't apply, so that was really nice. I want to end this session by saying that apparently we don't need ISP, we need ISSP, Internet Social Service Providers. Perhaps. So I think with that aspiration, I formally say that thank you very much, and thank you being here. I hope somebody is taking screenshots of all the photos and posting it. Everybody is free to go off from the panel, but I will sit for 2 minutes to explain the session to the audience who were sitting in Hindi. And we will all like to see you on 29th of August with 2 or maybe 3 more videos, and which is already been conducted, most of them, but we are still editing. So next time we will take you to Kyrgyzstan and Indonesia. And that will be wonderful to see, because both are going to have very lovely story in very difficult situation, in very different terrain, and water bodies and the sky, at the top of the hills and things like that. Yes, donkeys and all that. Yes. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. We'll see you again, and please mark your 29th of every month in your calendar. And I hope being on the panel is not going to be necessity for you to join. So 29th of July, August, 29th of September, and 29th of October. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
और बाकी लोग जो कम्युनिटी के हैं बैठे हुए हैं उनको मैं बताना चाहता हूं कि आज जो दो मेजर कम्युनिटी